Welcome back, attractive and well-educated watchers. If you are somehow just now finding out about us, here's the quickest recap we can possibly give for the sort of gradually escalating nightmare scenario our campaign has become, and we're totally here for it. First and foremost, the party is consistent of the following. One grumpy bunny druid who just wants to settle down and start a farm upon which to pop out millions of kids. One out-of-time exiled Disney princess trying to restore her kingdom, or at least her culture. A self-centered, multi-class snarkmonger who's looking to find a place for his blade-singing clan to escape a rival clan's murderous intent. A human orphan raised by dwarves to be Iron Man. A dwarven animal trainer who hates people but somehow has more hirelings than anyone else, and a pack of wolves. And a tall, hot goblinoid whose people have been in existence for less than 200 years and who himself has no idea how society or anything else works. After meeting at the Clay Clan Cantina in the Fiddleboot district of the city of Brinefield, the party decided on laws and holidays for their new frontier culture with the help of Gundwisa Whistlebranch, goldsmith and independent agent for the Frontier Establishment Cooperative. After refusing to decide on actual limits and stipulations behind their laws, or meander over the potential political ramifications, a fight broke out in the tavern and Pao Yu, the aforementioned Disney princess, threw herself out a window to avoid being caught by her usurpers. Don't worry, she was fine. Thinking that this was an amazing idea, everyone except for Calden Multiclass decided to jump out the window as well, the misanthropic dwarf Torner catching the place on fire as he did so. After skipping town for what should be obvious reasons, the party traveled over half a year off to the distant west, reaching a small community by the name of Journey's End, where they relaxed at the Gargling Griffin Tavern and heard about the areas beyond. Another month of travel to the southwest led them to find the glory of Crypt Canyon, a utopian little place clearly once occupied by the ancient civilization, as was evidenced by the ruins of an old hotel-restaurant combo filled with all manner of monsters, including but not limited to an entire society of sapient humanoid-sized necromancer spiders, who believe that the party's entry into the Temple of Genesis makes them the prophets of their ancient religion, created in the wake of the collapse of reality some 200,000 years ago, to regard the proprietors as a glorious race of giants who shall one day return and bring upon the Spider Society an event known as the Grand Reopening that will usher in an age of the Great Prophet. After convincing the spiders, like total sociopaths, that they were indeed the proprietors, the party allied themselves with this distinctly evil faction and began to spread their roots into the canyon, clearing out part of the establishment and discovering a dwarf pickled in the cellar that had been preserved for over 200,000 years and personally remembers a time when the ancient people ruled this world. This man, Dothut Ailfoot, also known as Picklebeard, was able to tell them of a great dwarven city just 3 days away called Mountain Home, the once well-walked path now lost to time and the growth of the chaotic West. Realizing that the friendliness of the animals in Crypt Canyon would lead them to lose a lot of livestock and have a lot of inconvenience, the party actually worked together for pretty much the first and only time to make a moat and palisade around the community. They then wandered off to go to that dwarven city with Picklebeard, convinced some mega skunks to join their community, and got attacked by a bunch of horse-sized squirrels with dragon scales and a thirst for human brains, one of which literally bit Calden's head off. Olek, fucking goblin champ that he is, decided that he wanted one as a pet and raided the local midden for some babies. Let's see how that comes back to bite him in the neck in the future. No worries though, Torner also got one. Obviously needing to go back home, the Grumpy Bunny and RL carried Calden's remains back to town in a cooler via her magic broom, and then the good-aligned Disney princess necromancer that is Pao Yu put his head back on and revived him the cheap way, but the guy's so full of himself that he still doesn't believe that he could have ever possibly been hit to this day, even though he's now got a neck scar and he's 10% shorter. After catching a forest on fire and torching basically the entire region, the rest of the party returned to the colony just in time for the community to get attacked by the consequences of their actions, inadvertently forced into the canyon by way of the hilarious firestorm that they started in the south, which burned down tens of thousands of square miles of untouched wilderness. Led by a remarkably intelligent ogre named Barag, this band was promptly raffle-stomped out of existence and chased from the region, even though they were literally just trying to find a place to rest and maybe settle down for some trade. Instead, they wandered off toward Journey's End, and Barag took that place over and settled down, much to the chagrin of the old Lord of Journey's End, and pretty much no one else. Huh. Eager to get the establishment cleared all the way out, the party journeyed back into the hotel portion of the Temple of Genesis, and freed an ancient silver dragon cursed to slumber in this dungeon by a dread wizard until he was rescued, and restored by the party's medical and magical knowledge. Beyond that dragon were thousands of sludgy, disgusting clams, oysters, and other aquatic things, the descendants of the old civilization's fish tank inhabitants, now mutated to hilariously large and dangerous versions of themselves that were, all the same, convinced to leave for cleaner waters after the druids used speak animals and talked to them for a while. Having started something of a holy war in the Spider Society by taking the role of religious messiahs, the party decided to smash through the Spider non-believers' base and take their waste disposal otyugs to clean out the hotel, successfully chasing the enemy Spider faction from the area. For now. Finally having a place to put Strength Wizard, who just wants to lift, specifically the world out of chaos, but don't get it twisted, he wants to physically lift the world out of chaos, like a baller. Now that they have a place to put Strength Wizard, the party moved on to Mountain Home again, where they snuck in through the Undercity, found out what happened 200,000 years ago before the collapse of reality, convinced Picklebeard to unite these people and bring them back to the glory of the old days, and then promptly caught the city on fire and started another civil war. Leaving Picklebeard to clean up the pieces, they fled back to Crypt Canyon, where the party's colony quickly broke apart into numerous disparate factions throughout the region, with Iron Man Aldous as the only person left in the original community, which was never named, but instead only ever referred to as the First Settlement. Pao Yu, restarting her nation at super speed in response to the near-constant dismissal and detraction of Kalden, secured a place across the lake and gained the loyalty of the party's druids. Kalden has started his elf-centric town right across the freshest stream in the canyon from Olek's own new community, and a bunch of refugees from the very city that they started a war in have founded their own community in the center of the lake named Chicheshalatololco. Kalden has gone on to Journey's End to find that Barag is now the lord and business is better than ever. Having a stable place to live, the Harangon population has decided it is time to start booming. A creepy elven trader has come and visited both Torner and Inarel in the middle of the night in an attempt to sell them time. And Olek has started going into the pot business. There's too much cheese, not enough iron, and Aldous is salty that his salt mine isn't producing anything other than salt. Pao Yu's community of Tiantong is starting to punch out copper coins with her face on them, another mentor has joined the community, and the bulk of the Mountain Home refugees escaping the party-induced civil war have founded a community between Crypt Canyon and Journey's End called Chicha Itza. With that, you have about anything that truly matters, and from here, you're bound to find out far too much more. There's a lot going on this season, and we hope you all enjoy watching it unfold to our party's certain dismay. Thanks for coming. Enjoy.